So as we all know, EICMA is motorcycling's premier trade show, and the last time we were there in 2019, BeMoto launched this, the Tezzy H2. Basically, it takes the Kawasaki H2, which is already pretty wild, powered by a 1-litre supercharged inline-4 that makes around 230 horsepower, and then they just casually suspend it on a pair of swing arms with some hub-centered steering, and then it's wrapped in carbon and some absolutely gorgeous Italian design. The price, just 64,000 euros. Now, for some reason, EICMA didn't happen in 2020. Not quite sure why. But in 2021, it's back, and so are BeMoto with another radical design. This time they've unveiled the KB4 and the KB4 RC, both very interesting looking bikes, and so in this video we'll go through all of the details that you need to know about it. Now, BeMoto have a history of taking Kawasaki engines and other engines and putting them into their own more performant chassis. This will be even more so the case moving forward now that Kawasaki own the majority of the BeMoto company. So it should come as no surprise at all that the base for the KB4 and KB4 RC is the same, with the Ninja 1000 SX's 1043cc inline-4 engine as the starting point. It's not exactly the most exciting or exotic bike in the Kawasaki lineup, but it's a big seller, at least here in the UK. It often makes the top 10 large capacity bikes, and the smooth and relatively powerful engine is a big part of that. It makes 140 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 111 Nm of peak torque at 8,000 RPM, so it's plenty enough for bags of fun on the road. Now, BeMoto quote 142 horsepower in their press release, so they've either got their metric PS and old school horsepower mixed up, or there could be a couple of tweaks that produce a marginally different power output, but at this stage details are relatively sparse, so we'll have to wait and find out on that one. One thing they're more open about though is their innovative high pressure cooling system. Basically, they've taken the radiator from the front of the bike and stashed it diagonally under the saddle. Two big ducts down either side of the bike suck the air through and under the seat, and then it's piped out the back with a big old fan. It's not the first time it's been done though. Take the Benelli Tornado for example. But what's the point? Obviously this is more expensive than just the conventional layout of the Ninja, so there must be some benefit. Well, for one, you can get the engine further forward, which can change the weight distribution to get more over the front. You can also shorten the wheelbase of the bike to give it more agility, and part of that will be steepening the head angle, again contributing to sharper handling. Comparing the specs, you can see a 50mm reduction in wheelbase down to 1390. Now, clearly to accommodate this new cooling setup, you'll need a new frame and subframe, and the KB4s get a steel trellis with billet aluminium plates. There's also a new billet swing arm, which it has to be said looks absolutely beautiful. I'd happily have that on my mantelpiece if I could get the family to agree to it. In this new stance, it sits a little lower at 810mm in the seat height, but combined with other factors like the carbon bodywork, there's a huge weight saving of over 40 kilograms. So the Ninja weighs in at 235 curb, which is reasonable, but the KB4 is just 196, so let's say it'll feel a little more lively. Suspension is also massively upgraded. The more sporty fared KB4 gets a fully adjustable Öhlins setup, so a 43mm NIX 30 fork at the front and a TTX 36 shock at the rear. The KB4 RC on the other hand is a little more focused on versatility with its naked cafe racer style, and as such it appears to get Marzocchi electronically adjustable forks. Presumably they'll be semi-active, so responding to the riding conditions to ensure that damping is always optimally set, but weirdly the shock has a regular mechanical remote preload knob. Normally preload is tied into an electronically controlled system, so perhaps the shock is manual, or maybe this is subject to change for the final production bikes. Brakes are also much more bling than the own branded kit on the Kawasaki, with Brembo's radially mounted 4-piston monoblock calipers that look like their top spec style Emmas. Disc size is also up from 300mm to 320, so that should also help with increasing braking power. You also get some fancy 5-spoke forged alloy sport wheels, which they say help promote the vintage style of the bikes, but they should also be nice and light, and may well have contributed to that 40kg weight saving. Tyres are pretty sporty too, with Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa SPs, and you get a 120x70 up front and a nice wide 190x50 at the rear. From the pictures you can see that there's some familiar Kawasaki electronics in the cockpit. The dash is lifted directly, and the layout of the screen looks pretty familiar too. You also get the same buttons on the switchgear, and so I'd assume that a lot of the riding tech is carried over. That's by no means a bad thing, because the Ninja 1000 SX is very well equipped. There's a 6-axis IMU that feeds into lean sensitive traction control and ABS. You've got a bunch of power modes, cruise control, a quick shifter, and smartphone connectivity with the dash to unlock some extra functionality like ride recording and changing the bike settings. But I think a lot of these bikes will be sold on the stunning looks. But personally, I wasn't sold straight away. I think those banana-shaped ducts down the outside take a bit of getting used to. The more I look at the pictures though while I make this video, I think I do like what they've done, and it's always nice to see something a little different coming out of these shows, be that the cooling system from a sort of technological standpoint or just the way it affects the looks. Clearly they've gone for the semi-retro route with the choice of paint, the round headlights and also the brown leather seat, but there are some really nice high quality finishing touches that add a bit of a modern edge. The CNC components for example look incredible, so the triple clamps with the BeMoto logo, the swing arm I already mentioned, and even the foot peg hangers. There's also plenty of beautifully crafted carbon on show. Just look at the underside of the seat on the KB4 where the exit fan sits. But yeah, you've got the carbon bodywork, the hugger, the exhaust cap, the sprocket cover, and look at this co-branded Arrow exhaust on the RC. That looks awesome to me. So yeah, in summary, a very different looking bike, but all the better for it in my opinion, and the attention to detail and finish looks to be second to none. No price as of yet, it won't be as much as the Tezzy I guess, but still I'd expect well over 20 grand, so a little out of budget for me. Still a nice thing to admire from home. As always, I'd love to know what you think of it down in the comments below, and if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.